Hi there, Dean Heskin. Thank you for tuning into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash. And I have with me my co-host today, Chris Agelastos, who is going to talk a little bit with us about the secret war on cash. Chris, we actually finished our last podcast. Started and finished, I should say, talking about gold, silver, some of the
hmm
forecasts that many experts have had for price performance over the course of the next we used to say in the old days like several years, but what's interesting, they're talking about gold prices and silver prices maybe better than doubling in short order here, meaning like gold, for instance, in just a matter of a couple months. In fact, I had
Yeah.
CC, our producer, he's going to pull up and just take a look at those first few articles that we talked about our last podcast, out of King World News. I'll just read the headline
Yeah.
again. Silver's all-time high of $118 will not stand for long, they said. And then
Yeah.
there is another article that came out, also King World News, that we may see the price of gold double in just a few months. So, I mean, these are very bold predictions or
hmm
projections to say the least. But as we read the articles and kind of got into it a little bit, it's not just a lofty like pipe dream or just wishful thinking. I mean, they do a very good job of listing reasons why they say that's going to happen. And for those of you tuned in, if you missed that earlier podcast, in our show description, you'll see the link to those two articles. They're quick reads. I would really suggest, if you have an interest in maybe get a feel for what we might see out of metals prices in the coming, again, it's not coming years, in the coming months even,
Yeah.
I'd really take the time to look at those. So on the heels of that, though, Chris, what I wanted to talk about today, in so much is that, we, personally speaking, I started here at Swiss America in 1992. So what does that put me at? A little over 34 years ago. You've been here for, I think,
18 to
20.
20, something like that. Yeah.
So you've been here for a minute.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from my experience, and I know your experience has been the same because we've talked about this, where more often than not, very people who are in contact with our company or people that we might talk to, they really have had, even though they may be very accomplished investors in their own regard or their own right, real estate, stocks, bonds, mutuals, whatever it might be, futures, the physical commodity of gold and silver or commodities, they haven't had a lot of experience with. So it's a very new concept, new idea to them. And so
Yeah.
because of that, I wanted to take a little bit of time today and just kind of talk about some of the things that, kind of pertain to, what it is that, is involved with, getting invested or getting diversified into physical gold and physical silver. And so for starters, we'll go, CC will put on from, Swiss America's website here. The first page that we'll look at is silver and gold bullion and rare investment coins. So that the first thing, and the reason I bring this up, Chris,
hmm
we have different categories of physical metal, and that's number one, something that is very foreign to people from the word go. So we have silver and gold bullion, and then rare investment coins. That's really, there's really a subcategory to that, because you have rare coins and you have rare investment coins. And when I say rare, rare in relation to just bullion, but
Yeah.
kind of explain a little bit of what this means and what the difference is in these types of products that people can purchase.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think that one of the important things is we carry just about everything. I mean, if it's investment grade quality product, whether it's bars or coins or old coins, we have a lot of variety because, not necessarily is one product. I mean, they're all good, right? They're all going to do for the most part what gold and silver does. But we like to fine tune it a little bit, or maybe even have a mix of products for somebody, depending on their situation. So that's the first thing, and I think what a lot of people are probably a little bit more familiar with maybe is modern day bullion coins. Coins like an American Eagle or a Canadian maple leaf, or just a simple bar that comes out of a known mint. And these are just quality products that are manufactured regularly by a variety of different mints in different parts of the world, even. And at the end of the day, it's kind of a good basic way to get yourself into some gold and silver. But a lot of people also enjoy getting a little bit more into the numismatic products or the collectible coins. And within that, you mentioned there are some more common or generic numismatic coins. Again, they're certainly much more rare than bullion, but maybe hundreds of thousands or even millions of them were minted in the late 1800s or early 1900s, because that was really what people used as our currency back then. I mean, now we're all, well, now I guess we're used to just using our phone to tap, or our credit or debit card to spend money. But prior to that, paper money, when I was growing up, it was always looking in my wallet to see, okay, how much money do I have? Do I have money for date night this weekend? But back in the 18 and 1900s, it was all gold and silver coins for the most part. And so there are a lot of those coins out there that provide a great value. They're in many cases really not priced all that much different than generic bullion products, but they give you some extra benefits, some more privacy in purchasing and reporting. They give you a rarity. I often relate it to cars. If there's a vehicle that if for example, let's just say a Chevy Corvette. If they made 1,000 convertibles this year, but they made 500,000 regular coupes, typically that convertible is going to carry a bit of a premium because it's a more rare version of that car. And that's the same thing with a lot of these older coins. And then you can also get into really rare coins. I mean, we've been fortunate enough to see coins that are worth millions of dollars for one single coin. Now, that's probably not going to be the right product for the typical buyer. But it is good to know that stuff is out there, and it doesn't have to be millions of dollars. Sometimes it can be in the hundreds of dollars or even in the low thousands. So those are kind of the main categories that we deal in. Of course, there are a couple of other variances there that we can get into if it makes sense for somebody, but that's kind of the bulk of the product that we carry.
Perfect. And you mentioned earlier the term numismatic, and all the years that I've done this, and that term has come up with clients or prospective clients. Number one, I
Mhm.
felt horrible that they even had to try and pronounce it, because it definitely
It's a
is a
tough one.
tongue twister for most at the beginning. But for those of you listening, numismatic, if you pull it up in the dictionary, they list it as an adjective, and it's relating to or consisting of coins, paper currency, and metals. Uh, they say the word's origin actually comes from the late 18th century, from a French word, numismatique. But it really, all it boils down to in the world of coins, numismatic is an item that, in addition to its metal content, to Chris's point, it has additional value tied to it based on quality, scarcity, or condition. Things that it's kind of like buying real estate, location. You have a much smaller concentration of high value coins in relation to, excuse me, homes, than you do low value homes. And the values kind of reflect that. And it's basically the same dynamic with when you get into
Mhm.
uh, coins, gold, silver, things of this nature. All right, so that tells us a little bit about the market, the product difference. This next page that
Mhm.
CC will pull up is again off the Swiss America website, Swiss America Trading's coin catalog. And on this particular page, Chris, it lists a variety of coins like $10 Indians, $10 Liberties, two and a half Indians, two and a half Liberties. It goes through the whole gamut. And we see listed here little descriptions of each of them. So I would suspect, for those who want to maybe just learn about what kind of different coins out there, this would be a good place to visit. But as you look at this, like, is there any kind of rule of thumb as to which of these type of products might be better or worse for the typical person, or is that kind of a case by case situation?
Usually case by case. The differences in some of the coins on this particular page, it comes down to the size of the coin. A $2.50, a $5, a $10, and a $20 are very similar to, like a quarter ounce, a half ounce, a full ounce coin. And so, I mean, the metal content varies a little bit in those, and we have all the specifics there on the site for people. But this is a good way for people to just kind of familiarize themselves with the variety. And a lot of times, if somebody is buying some coins to keep at home, or keep in a safe deposit box nearby, something like that, they like having different sizes, because at the prices of gold these days, one of these $20 gold Liberty coins is going to be in the $4,000 to $5,000 range. So people like the idea of maybe having a $2,000 coin or $1,000 coin as well. Kind of like you don't just want $100 bills in your wallet if you're carrying cash. It's nice to have maybe some fives, tens, and 20s in there as well. So it gives people variety. And that's usually, one of the things that it comes down to. And then we also just like to talk with them about, some of their concerns. Why are they buying gold in the first place? What kind of timeline do they anticipate being able to hold the coins? Is this a 2, 3, 4 year purchase, or maybe a 10, 15, 20 year purchase? A lot of times our clients are buying this as a way to safeguard some of their savings. But they don't necessarily expect to use it or want to use it anytime soon. They want to hold it for an emergency, and if they don't need it, let it just sit there, continue to grow, maybe even just leave it to their kids and their grandkids if they never need it. So, but again, that's where our staff here can help kind of educate people on the different options, and we really try to match the person up with what makes the most sense for their situation, not just push them into any one particular product.
Got it. And I know the answer to this, but what you're saying in short is that, it is, you said already, it's not a one size fit all situation, but there are conversations that go into, what people are looking to accomplish, what they're looking to achieve. Do they just want, the cheapest metal for their money, not really concerned about growth or appreciation? Are they looking for maybe a better form of privacy or protection, maybe some growth? It's through that process where you're having this conversation with them where those things are kind of revealed, and you can kind of narrow it down to what's going to be the best fit.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, well, let's finish up with this then. If going back to the Swiss America website, people can call the office in order to talk to a representative to start with, and or if they want to start with an account, which an account does not mean that they necessarily have to purchase today, tomorrow, or the next day. They can open up an account that will just give them actually the ability to tap into educational resources, maybe be kept up to speed on different financial or economic events through the electronic newsletter, through the physical newsletter, things of this nature, correct?
Yeah, this is a good way, especially if you're new to this and you just want to, walk before you run. This is a good way to establish a relationship with Swiss America. Again, it doesn't cost you anything. Your information stays private. This just gives you the ability to kind of unlock all the features of our website, so you can take a look at things like pricing. If you've bought some products, you can see what you've ordered, what you paid, what it's worth now. A lot of educational resources. You can request some of our print materials. We also have most of that these days available in electronic form, so we can email that out. And I'm glad you mentioned the newsletter. We have both a weekly and a daily newsletter, depending on how much information you want to consume. That you can register for that. Again, we don't give out your info. You're not going to end up on a bunch of mailing lists or being telemarketed by a bunch of different companies. This is just a way to establish a relationship with us and let us know that, hey, you want to learn more, and we've got all these different ways to get information to you. Whatever suits the individual's needs.
Fantastic. All right. Well, as we always say, to do that, if you want information on gold, silver, how to open an account, or just general information about what's driving gold prices, what's driving silver prices, and other factors in their economy, You can do so by calling or texting at 1-800-289-2646. You'll see that number in the show description, or visit us at our website, www.swissamerica.com, also in the description for this show. If other than that, Chris, I guess if they're not subscribed, please subscribe, as we'd love to talk to
Yeah.
you more in the future. Have a great rest of your day, great week, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. Take care.